This is the final word, India Daily. We're recording on South Bank next to about 4 million birds who are all eating something. So maybe we'll just try to move away from them a little bit. Geoff Lemon and Adam Collins, day 3 of the Sydney Test match. I watched it, you watched it, but I'd like you to tell me about it and in that way tell other people about it in 30 seconds or fewer.
I'll try to do that. Quite distracted by those birds, it must be said. We thought we'd do a nice gentle shoot down here. Anyway, India resumed at 2 for 96, I think
That's
it was,
right.
and they were all out for 244. They lost 5 for 21 after lunch. It was set off by a brilliant Hazelwood run out. Pat Cummins, outstanding. Pujara, his slowest half century, but an important contribution. Held it together. It all fell away. 2 injuries along the way. Australia batting in reply in the third innings. They started with a lead of 94. They end with a lead of 197. Smith and Labuschagne ticking over beautifully. They put on 68 by the close, and I've overshot the runway, but that's okay.
Well, look, sometimes you got to do it, and it's all right as long as you're not in Hong Kong or somewhere. Where's the place with the really short runway?
Well, Hong Kong's one, but there's somewhere. Hong Kong is one of them. There's another one, but I can't remember.
Maybe
right
South
now.
America somewhere where don't do it or you go off a cliff. Sort of Bond GoldenEye style. You've got to take off before you go off the edge. But it felt to me like an earlier generation kind of day of Test cricket, like 20 years ago, Australian teams, when they used to just bully visiting teams, the way that they went at them relentlessly, the way that the injuries happened, the way that it wasn't just about getting them out, it was about really getting on top of them. And that's something that, Australia's been out of sorts so far in this series. And that was, obviously, the All Out 36 was sort of a freak day, but this was real, domination day, and it's the first one that we've seen, I think.
Yeah, it was a flex that was helped by the pitch, which did pop at different times. I briefly brushed over those 2 injuries, but Rishabh Pant copping a whack on the arm when trying to pull, and then Ravindra Jadeja, his thumb getting bent back when trying to defend his bowling hand as well. It was sort of the full stop on a fairly dominant performance from Australia between lunch and tea.
Right.
They were bowled out actually on the cusp of tea, India, for 244. So, Pujara and Rahane batting together, you're thinking, well, this could be India's day. They were doing exactly what we prescribed the night before. That is, getting overs into the Australian bowlers' legs, making sure they'd bowl tied with the second new ball, and wouldn't give them an awful lot until that point. But, of course, it was Pat Cummins, as it always is, in his 5th over this morning, I think it was, bending back Rahane's middle stump, albeit via the inside edge, but it doesn't matter. And then that brilliant piece of fielding from Hazelwood, which I think was just after lunch, might have been just before Vihari. No, it was before lunch with Vihari, who, just when Pujara was starting to slowly but surely advance in his innings, I think he took line for 11 off 1 over, for example, but 174 balls to reach 50, you get a feel for the kind of innings it was. He was trying to hold things together and, really drive Australia into the ground the way that he did 2 years ago. But the Hazelwood run out, a caught and bowled yesterday, a brilliant direct hit today from mid-on, and that changed the course of the day. They lose 5 for 21. Their lower order, as always, is rubbish, especially down at the very tail end. And Jadeja,
when the pressure's on, especially, even more so almost.
Yeah, that's right. Jadeja was able to bash a couple around to add a little bit of respectability to a score that looked like it was going to be all out about 210. They ended up all out 244. So they were, a double-digit deficit rather than a triple-digit deficit, but nonetheless, the damage had been done principally due to Patrick Cummins, who, you can't speak highly enough of this bowler. He's relentless. He's like a spinner in terms of his accuracy and his bounce back ability, over after over, spell after spell. He doesn't bowl a bad over.
Yeah. He's like some sort of non-giving up school guy, you might say. He's the way that he went at it today. Rahane was the major wicket, obviously. That early partnership, Rahane was the one doing the scoring, Pujara wasn't. But you had this sense, they brought the deficit under 200, and you thought, well, okay, if these guys stay together for a couple of sessions, then they can cash in. Or even if, a wicket falls when they're 100 behind, then they've sort of got the punchy lower order batting to get themselves a lead. And that's not how it worked out. And it was down to Cummins with that accuracy, cramping Rahane for room when he was trying to guide one away, chopped it onto his stumps. And then Pujara had to do all of it basically from then on. The the point of, I mean, Pujara was, 16 off his first 100 balls?
Yep.
And then scored 11 in 4 balls off Nathan Lyon.
Yeah, and scored 17 for his next 17, I think it was.
Yep.
Yeah.
But there was still the chance for him to build with Vihari, and then Vihari goes for that single after facing, I think, 38 balls for 4 runs.
Yep.
Punches one down to mid-off, sees Josh Hazlewood, says, I can take him on, and goes for it. And Hazlewood, people were saying it was as good as the Cummins one from Adelaide. It wasn't, because he wasn't full diving mid-air aiming at one stump, but it was still an amazing pick-up and throw in one motion to nail middle stump from mid-off.
Yeah, and I think that Hazlewood is underrated as a fielder. We've seen him be just magnificent on the boundary rope in short-form cricket, but here he got a chance to execute the skills, as they say, that they practice all the time. We're fortunate to watch Australia train quite a bit, and it doesn't matter whether you're Josh Hazlewood and Mitchell Starc, the fast bowlers, or whether you're one of the whippets who, operates a backward point like Glenn Maxwell in one-day cricket or whatever.
Yeah.
They all do the same fielding drills. It's about hitting one stump over and over and over again. And look, this was Josh Hazlewood's first direct hit run out in Test cricket, playing his 53rd Test, I think it is, 54th maybe. And I think, if it comes off once in your career, it's all been worthwhile.
Yeah.
And of course, he was involved in that run out for Virat Kohli a couple of years ago as well, where he threw the ball to Nathan Lyon. So he has got form on that front. And
is there a less exciting phrase than execute your skills in cricket?
Yeah, I know.
Especially when you're talking about something that was really good and really spectacular. Well, they say that he executed his skills.
But this is actually
day.
one of those times I think it actually means something. Like it's a skill they have practiced over and over again, and they're trying to it is an execution thing. It's all about being able to collect and throw the ball without losing balance at full pace, and that's what he was able to do. And as you say, mid-air, a little bit Bavuma-esque from the Wacker all those years ago when Australia were unpicked by his brilliance at mid-wicket. But no, the fact that Hazlewood now has 5 caught and bowled as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just it's an all-round package he presents as a bowler fielder, which again I think sometimes when we think about him, we think big old school fast bowler, nice and tall. But he has that second string, and we saw it today, and it was a real turning point.
Yeah, he's athletic, and he can play the uppercut over slips as well. It's the only shot he's got, but he can play that.
Sure.
So Pujara copped a lot of stick today for batting too slowly. Made 100 off 146 balls or thereabouts.
It was 174 balls for 50, which is his slowest half century by one delivery. And look, he gets out 450 as it turns out. Gets an absolute snorter from Patrick Cummins. I think it was his second wicket, maybe his third. Kissed the glove on the way through. Not an awful lot he could have done about it. And I sort of understand when the way that some people interpret it is that because he's willing to occupy the crease for so long and show no real appetite for scoring, that it puts pressure on his batting partners. But isn't it the case that cricket teams take all types? I sort of see it a different way, that if you can't absorb a player like Pujara in your 11, if that's too much for your team to deal with, then your team's probably not very strong to begin with.
Yeah, and the idea that it puts pressure on your batting partner, what puts pressure on your batting partner is getting out, or looking likely to get out at any minute when your batting partner doesn't know if you're going to stick around for a while. Whereas with Pujara, you have that solidity, that sense that it's fine, he's got an end. And he was soaking up a huge amount of very, very good fast bowling from Cummins and Hazlewood.
And spin as well. I mean, Lyon takes none for 87, but he bowled some incredibly probing overs at Pujara in those formative stages. So it all
had
goes.
A bunch of chances go over short leg as well, like edges
two
that
that
go
would
to hand, one that was given and then overturned.
Well, if Matthew Wade's a foot taller, which of course that's not going to happen. But
I wish it was a little bit taller. I wish it was a baller. I wish I could stop playing that shot over mid-wicket in the Test middle order.
Very nicely done. If Cameron Green's at short leg and has those sorts of skills, then he probably has 2 catches in there. But I digress. The point here is that Lyon did a job, Cummins did a massive job, Hazlewood with ball and in the field. Starc less so, less needed, but I think the fact that they had to throw the ball to Labuschagne at one stage, that wasn't all smooth sailing. The scoreboard kind of belies the fact that India did, at different points, really absorb the bowling well. But
we've got some boat friends just
gone
by. Hi, boat friends.
Hello, friends.
Hope you're having a nice time. This is what happens when you're down by the river. Boats, birds, all the rest of it. I didn't. I thought if somebody, the problem with Pujara's innings was that no one batted with him for long enough, and no one batted with him lucratively enough, and that almost happened when Rishabh Pant came out, and that was the point where Rishabh puts on 30 in quick time,
makes 34 or 50 balls, and you're thinking
the deficit comes down to 140 or so, and you think, well, this is where Pujara's work is worthwhile because he's got someone who can score, and then Rishabh gets smashed in the arm. Now, Pat Cummins, he broke Sean Marsh's arm during the World Cup. He broke Mohamed Shami's arm at Adelaide. He likes breaking arms. Get ready for one because he's going to dish one out. He smashed Rishabh in the elbow, and there was a long delay. And eventually Rishabh tried to play on, but it just didn't really work. You could tell he wasn't. He was obviously out of sorts because of the pain. He was in a lot of pain, and he nicked one to slip after they took the new ball.
Yeah, Hazelwood's second wicket. So in the end, Cummins finishes with 4 for 29 from 21.4 overs, a beautiful set of numbers, and Hazelwood 2 for 43 from 21, and Stark cashes in as well, picking up poor old Saini on debut, who wanted nothing to do with it, jumping backwards and prodding a ball to silly point. You don't often see a silly point for a fast bowler.
One ball after they brought him in too, because he jabbed about 2 other ones there with no catcher. They brought the catcher in and he hit it straight to Matthew Wade and marched off. And then it was Ravindra Jadeja getting like a bit of a waste of him really, because he was 29 not out or 23 not out. But didn't get the support to actually do what he could have done. Well, he's obviously in good nick, and he got hurt as well. Yeah,
here's the thing. Jadeja's batting too low. He's at 7, Punt's at 6, and Bahari's at 5. Well, Bahari's out of form. They've got no one else to really draw on. They should shuffle that. Jadeja should be at 5. He's averaged 58 over the last 2 years in Test cricket. He's more there for his batting than his bowling right now. I know he was magnificent with the ball in the first innings, but he should be up the order. Give him an opportunity. If it turns out that his thumb isn't busted, and let's hope it's not, that would be one logical change. When they had the ball in hand, India, they did get those 2 wickets. A lovely delivery from Mohammad Siraj to get rid of Will Pukovsky caught behind, who was looking good too. Nice boundaries through the offside, finding his rhythm, but that's all she wrote. And David Warner, who was out leg before wicket to Ashwin for the 5th time in Test cricket. He's been LBW to Ashwin. Most of those would have been around the wicket. I don't think many of those were sweeping either. Just something on the inside edge with Warner and off spinners. But that meant at 2 for 35. The lead is 120 odd or whatever it is at that point. India are at that stage where, if it's 4 for 50, if it's 5 for 70, they're chasing something manageable. But Labuschagne played his most convincing innings of the series so far. So he's not out overnight, 30-something. Not out, I wrote it down. He's not out overnight.
I think Smith's 22 and
47, and Smith's 29. And, they've put on an unbeaten 68 so far. But especially in the case of Labuschagne, he was sort of 20-odd off 20-odd balls and, 40 from 50 balls or whatever it worked out to be in the final half an hour when they kind of shut up shop, and they've built the lead to 193. And we get to the stage where tomorrow, really, if Australia are still batting at lunch, India can't win the game. It's all loaded up on India. They need to find a way to take 8 wickets in a session.
Yep. Ropey first test back for David Warner. Didn't make many in the first innings or the second. Will Pukovsky low score in the second after looking pretty decent in the first. So I guess it'll be interesting to see that pairing go on to the 4th test match. But we've pretty much covered it. So Australia well in front. As long as they don't fall in a heap tomorrow, they're going to set something. But we'll talk about that in the little second bit after the break, where we throw forward and we do the final word Hall of Fame for what really caught our eye today.
All right. I can. All the way over there.
Yeah, let's just
crack on.
This is the final word, India Daily, with Geoff Lemon and Adam Collins standing down at South Bank by the Yarra River. We're in Melbourne because we can't go to Sydney, because if we go to Sydney, we get trapped in Sydney forevermore, and we have to do a sort of Kurt Russell escape from Sydney thing, and it's going to be a bad time for everybody. So we're here instead, looking at a very picturesque sunny day down by the Yarra. The final word Hall of Fame, Adam. Anything in particular catch your eye? And the Indian runouts did, in that there was degree of ineptitude, particularly with Ravi Ashwin's one, where he started, went back, and then went down, and then just kind of casually strolled into his ground, and so a very easy single became a run out.
Yeah, there's a statistical category there too, isn't there? 3 run-outs in an innings, which has happened about 30-odd times. There was 4 twice, and I was egging that on. At one point, Warner had a shot for a direct hit, which would have run out Jadeja, I think, for the 10th wicket, and that would have been one of 3 times in Test cricket where there have been 4 run-outs in an innings.
Jim Maxwell was chatting about this on the radio.
1969, I'm sure
one of them was
absolutely crazy
a match
day
in which there was a man cat, in which one of the run-outs was at the non-strikers.
I did not know that.
It was Charlie Griffith, I think.
Yes, right.
I can't remember who he was running out, but one of those.
Well, speaking of man catting, that would be this. If I was my second favourite moment for the Hall of Fame was when Ashwin ran up to bowl, or
Yep.
bounced up to bowl, you might say, for a spinner, and then went through his entire action and didn't let the ball go and just stared at Marnus Labuschagne. Which for me at the time on the call, I'm like, well, maybe he was considering running out Steve Smith at the non-strikers end, which would have made me ever so happy. In the end, it was more just a mind games thing with Ashwin and Labuschagne.
Right.
But no, my Hall of Fame, my real nomination is the ball tracking technology. So they went upstairs, Ashwin reviewing leg before, Stephen Smith didn't look out at any stage of the process, really, but it took about 3 minutes to send the projection up, which sometimes happens, frustrating as it is, and the overrate today was a shambles anyway due to those injuries. I think we missed about a dozen
10
overs.
minutes for Rishabh Pant, and then which I was going to put in as a nomination was just how long it took, because the umpires are coming over going, oi, like, you've got to leave or stay, should I stay
you've had the
or
magic
should I go
spray,
now?
you've had the white Smarties and all the rest.
You're obviously in terrible pain, but you've got to go off if that's the case. You can't just hang around here pouring bottles of water over your head.
So with this projection, which did drag on, they flashed the stumps up, but the stumps weren't where the stumps are on the projection.
Yeah, there were 4 stumps, it looked like, on the projection.
And it meant that they said umpires call clipping the leg stump. That meant it was clipping the 4th stump. So India had a review retained on the back of the technology being bung.
Yeah, I'm not going to make a judgment on that yet, because I'm going to chat to the fellas in the truck and find out what went on with that, because who knows. But it did look very much like on the projection that there were 4 stumps, which maybe they were just going with one of those sort of Shane Warne brainwaves. So just have another stump. Just make the goals bigger. There'd be more football. Just make the goals bigger. More goals, more fun. So
just bat quicker, Pujara.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, they were just into him all day about batting too slowly.
I didn't watch the coverage today. Of course, I was doing another one, but I already knew without even knowing that's what he would have said all day.
So look, never mind that. Rishabh's big 10-minute delay, the many run-outs, the 4th stump.
I think it's the 4th stump.
Okay.
That caused the biggest stir on Twitter in the final hour or so, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, so and the official up in the stands watching the replay of the 4th stump is, of course, the 4th stumpire. We've already got a 3rd, but you need the 4th.
Well, actually, that might be a nomination as well, when Tim Payne cracked it and started swearing at Paul Wilson, and Paul Wilson politely told him, I'm not the 3rd umpire champion.
Because he was mad because there was a little bit of a murmur on Snicko when they were going for a DRS, but that was clearly not anything.
I'm not sure that Tim Payne is someone I would take advice on about the application of DRS technology, but he certainly was agitated about them not using one side's hotspot, not the others, and it looks not out for all money, by the way. It was the right decision by every measure we were observing in the commentary box, but Payne went bananas swearing at Wilson, who simply said, the 3rd umpire is the guy that sits upstairs.
Was that
not me.
Pujara or Rahane? It was off the glove.
It was early on. I can't remember who it was, but in any case, it was overturned.
I think it was Pujara going a short leg. But nonetheless, Tim Payne, maybe just a short TAFE course in audio engineering, something like that. I think all the players and the umpires need that. Nonetheless, I think that's us for today. We'll be back with the India Daily tomorrow for day 4. It'll be on YouTube as well.
Yes, I just want to add that. So the YouTube shots that we're doing, I promised a shot in Collingwood. That's not today, obviously, so we're not there, but that's happening on day 5. That's going to be a lot of fun. We'll find another iconic Melbourne location for day 4. The response on YouTube's been delightful. Thank you for commenting and sharing and subscribing and all the other things you can do on YouTube. And for those who, of course, are listening to us in the podcast feed, we love you all. And if you want to subscribe to us on there, patreon.com/The Final Word.
That's it. The podcast is in all of your podcast machine apps. And that is it for us. Geoff Lemon and Adam Collins, the India Daily, day 3 from the SCG. See you tomorrow.
Bye.